Here's a little project we thought would be good to put our planer to use now that we've cleaned it up and got it all set up. This is a little phone stand, except that we wanted to make it larger to accommodate a tablet. So I basically planed the wood down to about 3/8 of an inch thick to make the parts for the stand. For the final couple of passes, I switched the planer over to finishing mode, where it slows the rollers down so that you get more cuts per inch. I cut the parts to length at the table saw. Now it's important to remember, anytime you cut parts to length, always square one end first and then take your measurements off of that. This way you'll be guaranteed square and accurate cuts. The final step at the table saw is to rip the pieces to width. Here I'm laying out the interlocking notches that will hold the pieces together, and I'm going to use a piece of the material to guarantee that the slot width is the same as the thickness of the material, so that I get a nice snug fit when the pieces are together. And I'll repeat the same layout work on the smaller piece. The notches extend from the midpoint of the width of the workpiece out to the edge. So here I'm just marking the end point so I'll know where to cut. If the orientation of the workpieces matters to you, it's a good idea to mark the waste so you'll know which areas to cut out. A few quick cuts at the bandsaw define the sides of the notches. Here I've set up a 2x2 chisel guide to help guide the chisel so that I can be guaranteed that the sides of the notches are nice and straight and square to the surface. Flip the workpiece around and reset the chisel guide to make the cuts on the opposite side of the notch. Well, as luck would have it, I dropped this piece on the concrete floor and it broke off the smaller piece that you see here. The reason why is that the long grain is running in the long direction of the workpiece, and that's the weakest spot. I had two choices. I could either use another workpiece and remake the part, or I could glue this piece back on and hope for the best. That's what I did, so I glued it up, clamped it overnight, and came back the next day to finish the part. Once everything is sanded, you can barely tell where the glue line was, and I don't think it'll matter in the finished project. I always like to relieve the sharp corners of a workpiece, and the easiest way for me to do this is to use a small block plane set for a thin cut. Just a few passes is all it takes to just knock off the corner of the workpiece. I finally got the pieces to fit together, but I made an unfortunate discovery. Because I tried to enlarge the plans to accommodate a tablet, I didn't account for the fact that the tablet is going to need to have a longer leg on the back or some other adjustment to make it sit upright. So what I decided to do was take a piece of 3/4 inch material, cut a groove in it to fit over the back edge of the smaller piece so that it would act as a foot and stabilize the base. Sneak up on the width of the groove until you get a nice sliding fit with the workpiece. Now my intent here was to rip the edge of the foot at an angle so that it would sit flat on the surface when the tablet stand is assembled. But that didn't work out in the end, as you'll see here in a minute. I drilled a small hole in the smaller piece to accommodate the power cord, the charging cord for the tablet, and then I put the pieces together. I'd made the discovery as I put the foot on that the stand is more stable if I just flip that foot over and let the angled piece be on top. And the side benefit of this is that that little well on the back serves as a nice place to coil up your cord for cord management.